Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Michael Knowles just wipes the floor with this woke student who doesn't understand basic logistics. This is just sad, really. But before we dive into the video, I want to give a quick shout out to our amazing sponsors at Colonial Metals Group. They quite literally have the cure to fight inflation, but more on that later. Now, let's get back into the video.
What's the downside of converting our energy system towards more green energy, such as wind power and solar power? To me, the idea of moving in a more sustainable direction for our energy our production is just more about creating jobs that produces a lack of reliance on oil and things that are inherently non-renewable and foreign exports.
So if you got rid of just the oil industry, if you just got rid of the energy industry that the Green New Deal seeks to get rid of, you would immediately destroy 5.8 million jobs. Those are just jobs relating directly to that energy sector. Obviously, there are a zillion jobs downstream of that. And obviously, if you kill off 88% of American energy, you don't just kill off 5.8 million jobs, you kill off virtually all of the jobs. Why not convert to some hypothetical, clean, wonderful avatar energy source? Show me the energy source that could provide American energy. You talk about how we have reliance on foreign fuels. We found that biggest oil deposit ever in 2016. We're the biggest producer in the world. This is a wonderful thing. This is something that we should embrace. This idea of scarcity is a fiction. This idea that we're just depleting our resources and they'll all be gone in 15 years. The question you asked is, what is the downside of killing off 88% of the American economy? Outlawing, you asked it and I'm relating it to the Green New Deal, of outlawing gas-powered cars within 10 years, of outlawing jet fuel-powered jets within 10 years, of knocking down and rebuilding all the buildings within 10 years. What's the downside of spending $93 trillion, 80% marginal tax rates, killing American ingenuity, and then once you kill off all of the people who make all the jobs and who grow our economy, then you just start printing money, making the global reserve currency, I don't know, like the paper in Venezuela. What's the downside of that? What's the upside of that? Now, if you're saying, why don't we spend, I don't know, $30 trillion or $2 trillion to promote these companies. The trouble is, what seeps in is cronyism and failure. They tried that during the Obama administration. Specifically, they tried it with a company called Solyndra, and it was rampant with corruption. What did it do? Not very much. When the government tries to innovate, innovation doesn't happen.
Y'all, I really just want to say bless your heart. But do these kids, and I know they're just kids, and I know these people are woke. This guy says he's a Democrat, but do they not understand basic logistics? Do they not understand what oil actually does? We're wearing plastic. Yeah. And we're having a fantastic special. We're having a special with Dr. Paul Stone, and he's here to help us understand the economics and anything else in his vast array of knowledge. Mr. Stone, President and CEO of Colonial Metals Group, welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Well, all right. So, yeah. How do these kids not understand the logistics of this?
Well, in many ways, the educational system is in the blame game. So they teach the ethic of you don't have to take responsibility. You're victims. Victimhood doesn't have to fight for anything. It just has to complain. It just has to be against things. Mostly, I think that swirl exists because of the confusion when we look at the government and we think, well, those people sound like us, look like us. They grew up in this country mostly. How could they be doing things that's against us? It's just antithetical to what we would think, especially when you put on a suit and tie or a fancy dress, you stand at a podium and there's news cameras in front of it. You must be credible. You must be important. You must be of an excellence you specialize in making these decisions for hundreds of millions of people. So how could it be wrong, right? That's what I think this confusion comes from in the youth, where they are living in a very challenged world, a very disconnected world. To me, the main ingredient to humanity is connection, and the regular, constant driver to cause that connection is problem solving. Why do you think we date? We just don't want to go through life alone. So we go through all the sweaty palms and nervousness and saying silly stuff and choking on our food because, she's so beautiful or he's so handsome, however, which way you go. And we date because we're solving a problem. We don't want to be alone. That causes a connection. That's one of the easiest things to come up with. We live in a world where everything's on this. Even this isn't real. I can't, I can't smell the coffee you got brewing back there in your shop. You can't smell mine. It's great that we can connect so easily, but this isn't really real. We're not sitting in the same room. It's happening through virtual means. The electrical solution to ending the demand on carbon is, in a way, an artificial world. Making electricity without coal, with just solar and wind, one, is highly unreliable, and two, in a way, it's artificial. It's not real. If we're burning logs to drive a steam engine, to move a locomotive, eventually burning coal, that's real. And it might be a little bit of an evil to having society have 8 billion people on the planet, but why don't we just continue to work at making coal put out no, negative emissions? Why can't we just keep working on that? Why would we uproot, as he says, 6 million workers directly from the energy industry here in America? Well, what are we supposed to tell them? Go get a college degree and learn how to work an electrical plant? It's ludicrous.
It absolutely is. And I'd like to add on just one thing to that. Having grown up in part during my elementary school years in public school, I can say this. The teachers would always make you appeal to authority. And that's been a huge part of the zeitgeist in millennials, part of Gen X. It mostly started in the 90s. But the experts know everything. Listen to them always.
And be sheep.
And as you put, it's just simply easier for the mind to comprehend. But when it comes to comprehension, is it possible to comprehend the amount of cost that this would have? Like the literal monetary cost of this?
I mean, the only quote I ever heard, and it hasn't been futzed with, was Bernie Sanders quoting, "We just need $90 trillion to make our economy green."
90 trillion.
90 trillion.
We're at what, 35?
Yeah, 35 trillion in debt, over the 31 of that over the last 24 years since the year 2000. The dollar was worth 56 cents in the year 2000. We're talking about buying power. So you're talking about, they're talking about killing the resource of the dollar to end the demand on the resource of carbon and manage your lives. But, I said this to someone the other day, and I don't mean to be off-putting in any way to someone who doesn't subscribe to believing in the name I'm about to use. But for many people, if Christ was standing in your living room tonight and told you he's coming back for everyone in 91 days, what would you be doing tomorrow? You would be on a crusade. You would absolutely be on a crusade. Look at the rare earth mineral need for one of those lithium batteries. The diesel bulldozer that's digging up the earth burns 100 gallons of diesel an hour. So you can drive a Tesla. You can't have something for nothing, and that is a law of physics. Only fusion is starting to prove that might be possible to get more out than what you put in. But generally speaking, and certainly economics, you cannot have something for nothing.
And you're absolutely right. And by the way, I want to add on to this. What you were saying about electric car batteries, the main product of cobalt is found in a Congolese mine where people are digging with their hands and feet in what is likely toxic waters, and they're calling them artisanal miners. And the CCP owns it. It is this weird attempt to give power from the United States to the Chinese. Why are they doing this? Why do they think this is a good idea?
Many opportunities to make wealth come from creating something where there's nothing. And this green versus carbon thing is about just taking the workers and taking the revenue from what's spent on carbon to having it being spent on green. So if you're in the green business, you're going to get all these government grants. You're going to get all these special favors. You got all these politicians at your back wanting to help you out and push your agenda. And you just need to be there in place to be a great recipient of all that wealth that's coming your way. To me, it's as simple as that. When you look at, and I'm no climate change expert, and I didn't go to college to study, atmospheric, Earth-like, relations with the cycles that the planet has been through, but there was an ice age. We weren't there then. There was 2 miles of ice on top of Manhattan. I understand it actually drives the St. Lawrence River the wrong way, which creates the Niagara Falls. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the Niagara Falls. It'd be running, the river would be running into Canada, and it lifted Florida out of the ocean. So what caused the cooling? It must have been a heating where you blocked the sun from, because of the thick atmosphere, and the sun's rays couldn't get here and the planet went into a deep cool. Or it had to do with the output of the sun itself. That vacillates some. Maybe it stopped putting out so much radiation in our direction, and so the planet cooled. We are seeing the planet warm up. I would agree with that. Are we the cause of it? I don't think we need to execute our economies. We need to band together. We need to stop printing money. We need to live within our means. A lot of the government printing press is allowing people to get more jets and get more cars and take more trips and burn more fuel, when we used to live a more localized life before we had all this excess that we could go tripping around the planet with.
And that's absolutely the truth. And I'll add on to this as one last thing. We've even had periods of a little ice age caused by volcanic eruptions. It's been caused by sunspot activity. The list goes on and on with that. And so we naturally have these cycles, and they're called mechanic cycles. So that is an absolutely great point. Mr. Stone, thank you so much for being with us. Always a pleasure having you on and hearing your vast wealth of knowledge, particularly when it comes to wealth.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and I'm glad I can be useful and have a purpose to others. That's what drives me.
Awesome. Well, y'all, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed this segment here on Politbro. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And until then, y'all have a good one.